Hey, what's up, everybody? I want to do a video on what is Azov. Since the war in Ukraine began, one of the reasons that Russia gave for invading Ukraine was to denazify the country. Russia Russia claims that the Ukrainian government is infiltrated with Nazis, its military is full of Nazis, and they always throw out Azov, specifically Azov Battalion, as their examples. So let's go ahead and let's talk a little bit about what Azov is, what it started as, what it is today. So Azov was originally founded in May of 2013 with some group of volunteers, some veterans, some normal volunteers of some of the nationalist movements here in Ukraine. And it was a volunteer battalion that was put together when the Russian-backed separatists started the conflicts in eastern Ukraine in the Donbass region. So at that time, the Ukrainian army was pretty much decimated from years of neglect, from years of defunding, and they just did not have an active army. So a bunch of these volunteer battalions got together. Azov was one of them, Donbass Battalion was one, Right Sector, Pravi Sector was another one. And so basically it's a group of volunteers that got together and went to the east and fended off the Russian separatists from advancing past Luhansk and Donetsk, kept them from advancing further west into Ukraine. Like I said, they were all volunteer. They did this while the Ukrainian army was being reconstituted, basically refunded, retrofitted, and put back into service. So I'm going to show you real quick also around here. I've got a little laptop here that I'm using to hold my phone up, but it's not on, so I'm not looking stuff up. I'm not reading this. This is a subject that I know quite well. I've done extensive studying on it. I've given lectures on it, and so don't think I'm sitting here reading off a screen. Because any of you who know me personally know that one of my guilty pleasures is arguing on social media, Facebook, things like this. Since the war started, I see a lot of people pushing the Russian propaganda and pushing this denazification narrative, and it ticks me off. So I kind of want to get this out there, and so you'll be able to understand why this line, this propaganda line, is just straight garbage. So anyway, so these volunteer battalions got together. They were formed. They went. Oh good grief! They attacked the advancing separatists from the east, and they fended off the attacks until the normal army got its conscripts and its contracted soldiers and basically until the army got ready to fight. So once the army moved in, started fighting, they picked up the fight. Some of these volunteer battalions fought alongside the army. The Ministry of Defense did arm some of these volunteer battalions, even though they did not fall under the purview of the Ministry of Defense. So back to Azov. In August 2013, the Azov commander, Andrei Beletsky, stepped down as commander, formed his own political party, National Corps, National Corpus, went into politics. At that time, the Azov Battalion pretty much was disbanded. It was assimilated into the National Guard and reconstituted as the Azov Regiment. Now, at its maximum strength, Azov Battalion was approximately 3,000 people strong, and an estimated 10% were neo-Nazis. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you now, there's no Nazis. There hasn't been Nazis since 1945. So I will use the term Nazis, and I'm talking about neo-Nazis. So there are no Nazis, there's some neo-Nazis. So there was an estimated 10%, or about 300 of the Azov Battalion originally had neo-Nazi ideologies. Now you have to look at what this means. It's very easy for us in the Western world to look back and say, hey, Nazis are bad. Yes, it's easy 75, 80 years later to say Nazis are bad. So Ukrainian neo-Nazism doesn't get its foundation and roots and from the hating of Jews and everything that traditional German Nazi ideology did. Back in 1942-43, when the Nazis invaded Ukraine, a lot of them were welcomed by Ukraine, not because Ukraine believed in their ideologies, but because they saw them as liberators from Russian oppression. So it's very difficult as Westerners for us to be able to empathize and think that the Nazis were the lesser of two evils from the Russians. So my grandmother grew up in Germany during World War II, and she said unless you lived right next to the concentration camps, you didn't know what was going on. You had no idea what they were doing there. So go back to 1942, 1943, when the Germans came across the border. The Ukrainians didn't know that stuff was going on. All they saw them was, hey, they're liberators from Russia. We think Russia is worse than the Nazis. Ukrainian Nazi ideology is rooted in an independent, Ukraine is an independent state, and hate for Russia. Basically, that's what it is. So we fast forward back to August 2014, when the Azov battalion was assimilated in the National Guard as the Azov regiment. These people with these ideologies were purged. Since then, it has been an official military unit under the MOD as the Azov regiment of the National Guard. So a lot of people say, well, that's just you're mincing words. You went from regiment to battalion, or vice versa, battalion to regiment. It's not mincing words. You're taking all volunteer group from 2014 who wasn't under the purview of MOD, and you're equating it to the actions of now since 2014 an official military unit under the MOD of Ukraine. And it's not the same thing. In fact, whenever you see people, talk about, there's Nazis, the Azov Nazis, they always post pictures from like 2014, and because back then some of them would fly the Nazi Black Sun, or they do the salute, the Zigheil salute, and so it's frustrating to see people equate the two organizations because they're not the same. I'm constantly being told I'm stupid, I don't understand what's going on in Ukraine, evidently I'm too dumb to understand Ukraine. And when I tell people, as soon as they say it was the Azov Battalion, I just tell them, the Azov Battalion hasn't existed since August 2014. I get everybody telling me I'm stupid, I'm an idiot, I'm a moron, I don't know what's going on. So there, you can lay it out for you. I just laid it out for you. This is the Azov movement as it's fractured from the Azov Battalion, and it's now actually fractured into 5 separate movements. There's the Veterans Movement of Ukraine, there's the Azov Regiment, there's the Centuria Group, which is their military wing. This tried to insert itself into like some of the ROTC organizations here. There is the National Corpus, which Beletsky heads. He went on to be a member of parliament from 2016 to 2019. He's not now, but he still has the National Corps party and still does try to make bids for runs in parliament. But he said he wanted that to be completely separate from Azov, didn't want the two to be combined. So that's it. There it is. So whenever you see people talk about there's Nazis in Ukraine, there are some people running around that have neo-Nazi ideologies, just like there are in the U.S., just like there are in Germany, just like there are in Russia, just like there are, in many countries around the world. But they're a small population, and they certainly aren't representative of the national governments or the national military entities of those countries. So I don't think, funny enough, the Azov is quite supportive of President Zelensky, who's Jewish. The former President Petro Poroshenko, his mother was Jewish, and I believe the Prime Minister is also Jewish. So there's a lot of the higher ups in the current Ukrainian government are Jewish, and Azov supports them fully. Even back when Azov, last thing I'll say, even back when Azov was the just volunteer battalion fighting in the east, they had people of darker skin and people from the Jewish what's the word I'm looking for? Heritage fighting in their ranks, because that had nothing to do with their ideologies. It's all about hating Russia. So there is no. I've lived here in Ukraine for 2.5 years. There are no Nazis running around the street. There are no Nazis in the government here. They're not. What else did I read? Somebody says Azov is child trafficking. No. If you were to come here for like the Day of the Defender parade, Azov is treated like heroes, especially here in Kiev. And so one of the things that I saw was, maybe some of the massacres that occurred in Bucha was Azov. No, Azov wasn't there during that time. That was under occupation. You can strictly see from the timelines and the satellite photos that Russia occupied the area of Bucha during the time these atrocities occurred. And like I said, especially in this area, Kiev, in which Bucha is a suburb of Kiev, Azov are heroes to these people. The idea that Azov would turn around and do that to their own population is just absolutely absurd. So that's the last thing I'll say. I just want to put that out there because I'm so sick and tired of seeing this Nazi line on propaganda line on social media, and I'm sick and tired of hearing and seeing people in the Western regions, UK, Germany, even the US, they're starting to spit this same propaganda line about the Nazis in Ukraine, and it's maddening because these people don't know what the hell they're talking about. So that's it. That's all I'm going to say. Next time you hear somebody read about the Nazis, think back to this video, or talk about the Nazis in Ukraine, think back to this video, and just learn or just realize they don't know what the hell they're talking about. So thanks for watching. I'll see you guys soon with a regular video.